Today we'll be sharing my impressions of Super Mario 3D All-Stars for Switch. If you could quickly like and subscribe, that'd be great, because there's a lot to get to in this video. Let's get to it.
I posted a graphical comparison video recently and suggested that I had some things to say, and here they are. Starting with my impressions of the graphics. I am, in a word, disappointed. With Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES, we were welcomed to improved visuals of what was my first experience of a remastered game. Visuals that were not possible on the NES were achieved, and the 4 Mario games included in the collection looked at home on the 16-bit Super Nintendo. This is where I think Nintendo kind of mailed it in, as there was certainly an opportunity to revamp these 3 titles for an HD era with the Switch. Recent releases like the Crash Insane Trilogy and Spyro Reignited Trilogy really proved a blueprint on what late 90s, early 2000s remasters could look like, but here we effectively have the same games, with the ability to run on modern TVs, while looking pretty much the same as you remember them 24, 18, or 13 years ago when you thought at the time that graphics couldn't get any better. This also includes Mario running on that same aspect ratio you remember, nostalgia. All 3 of these games are great, which shouldn't come as any surprise, as there really isn't much different aside from some updated controls to replace the N64, GameCube, and Wii controls that these games were effectively built around. In Super Mario 64, the camera's still a bit janky, but I personally found it as an improvement. Similar to the DS port, this release of Super Mario 64 did not fix the awful camera that this game has always had. Super Mario Sunshine works alright as well. It has taken me a bit to get used to the control scheme, and as I progress, I think it might get more challenging to control as the levels become more difficult. But so far the transition from the GameCube controller to Switch, it's been alright. Finally, Super Mario Galaxy. This one's a bit different because of how the game is dealt with in handheld mode. It's a bit strange because there are 2 fundamental controls that were brought in with the Wii's motion controls. In handheld mode, the waggle of the Wiimote to spin Mario is now mapped to the Y button, which allows you to be a little bit more precise, but in place of pointing at the screen to collect star bits, you touch the screen to collect them, which is pretty annoying. There's also the ability to play with a Pro controller that uses gyro controls to retrieve the star bits, which actually works better than I thought, but overall, I would just suggest you play the game as close as it was meant to be played in docked mode with both Joy-Cons separate. Finally, the control scheme is locked, and it's pretty strange that there is no option to change your controls for any of these 3 games. I was also let down by the soundtrack. I don't know if it was my excitement while I watched the announcement trailer, but I foolishly thought that this game would come bundled with a CD soundtrack. Not that I would use it or anything, but similar to the 25th anniversary Super Mario All-Stars on Wii. But it comes with the soundtracks on the game cartridge. Cool, I guess, but honestly, what is this good for? Finally, the games themselves. They're all classics, and I would recommend each one of these games separately. So them being all in one collection for the first time is a compelling proposition, as it might not come easy for someone to play all of these games. Although technically you could play them all on Wii, so long as you purchased them separately and had Super Mario 64 on the Virtual Console before the servers closed. There are a couple things nagging about this collection that I will end upon. First is the games that were included in the collection. I do not disagree with the 3 games chosen. I do, however, feel that it was somewhat of a cash grab, considering there's no additional remastering done to these titles to make someone who owns all 3 games compelled to run out and grab this collection, as slightly faster load times and cleaner graphics should not be all there is to convince me to buy. But I'll admit, falling for the nostalgia hype, and in the end, will appreciate having all these games on a single cartridge to enjoy. It does seem odd to have omitted other 3D Mario games, specifically Super Mario Galaxy 2, and or 3D Land, as the Wii U's 3D World is being paired with Bowser's Fury as its own standalone release. But time will tell if Nintendo pairs them with something else to squeeze more out of everyone. In closing, I'm a fan of all 3 of these games and will enjoy playing through each one, as there is indeed a lot of content in this collection, which should make it worth the cost of admission, especially for those who might have missed out on any. Specifically Sunshine, because it hasn't been available outside physically on GameCube. But the fear of missing out Nintendo has placed on Switch owners by having this collection be a limited release until the end of its fiscal year in March is puzzling to say the least. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. Before you leave, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you in my next video.